Hi guys, happy Thursday, and in today's video we are going to be tackling more abstract florals. The whole point of this exercise is going to be to sort of unwind in your mind, not to overthink, and just kind of let the color take you so you can just flow with it and learn to just loosen up and create different kinds of strokes without being afraid to touch the paper with your brush. This is something I had done 2 years ago, and when I did this, I decided I just wanted to sit down, unwind, and just paint without thinking. And so that's exactly what I did. So I'm just going to turn it sideways so you can kind of see everything. And when I finished, I looked at it and thought, oh, I hate it. And then the next day I came back and I looked at it and I was blown away by how pretty I thought it looked. Imagine that. So that's why I always say walk away before you decide anything. This is what I did with it. I ended up making it part of my 2020 calendar. So if you got the calendar, you would have seen this as part of your one of your months. And then now it's a note card. So you can see something that you probably thought was not so good looking. All of a sudden you're like, wow, it makes a great note card. And I ended up making some other items out of it as well. But today's exercise, we are going to recreate something very similar using the colors. And I really want you guys to kind of take a step back from Sundays if it was too challenging for you, our Sundays live, that is. And let's just try abstract florals again, but with a little more instruction in terms of starting off small as opposed to just going into a lot looser than something like this. All right, so hope you guys like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on this video, and please feel free to share as well. Okay, so the brushes that I'm going to be using are my number 8 Princeton, my number 1 mop brush, and the number 4 Silver Black Velvet. And then for colors, we are going to be using the Carmine, Indigo, or even a Prussian blue if you have one, or like a turquoise, any of those, violet, and my yellow ochre. I find that the violet and the yellow ochre gives you like a nice contrast because they're kind of like complementary colors. All right, and then I have my shell ready, I have my paper towel ready, I have my water to the side, and we are ready to start. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to be mixing our colors, and I'm just going to take the number 4 and mix some of the color onto here. Just move this off so you can kind of see that happening. And we're going to start off with using some of the blue that we have. And so it could be, as I mentioned earlier, it could be like a Prussian blue, it could be a Turk. I think a cerulean would also work. Yes, just going to mix as much as I can on here. Now we're trying to mimic what I did 3 years ago, I think. So it might not exactly be bang on, but it'll be pretty darn close. So I'm just not washing off all the paint from my brush as I mix my violet because it's going to be all mixed up with the colors that we have. And this is also actually one of my favorite palettes. Not the shell, I mean the color scheme that we have going on. So favorite color palettes to be working with because it's a little bit on the cooler side compared to my regular pink and orange. And it's kind of different from my summery colors, I guess you could say. So we have those, and now we're going to do the Carmine. And the Carmine's right here. And we don't need a lot of this because we want it to be a pink as opposed to being this dark hue. So a light pink is what I was trying to say. So hopefully we can get that. And then finally we have our yellow ochre. And I'm looking at this color palette that we have here, and while this is nice, I am definitely thinking that I want to add in my green. So I'm going to bring in my green, except I will not be mixing it onto my palette. I'm just going to be mixing these. And so we have our colors mixed up and ready. You can see there's like a river flowing between these two. They're kind of mixing up. That's fine. So we are ready to actually start painting now. So since I mixed the yellow ochre last, I'm going to start off by using the yellow ochre that we mixed. And so for that, we're going to be creating our centers. So let's just see how this pans out. The whole point of this exercise is to mix colors, create loose florals, not focusing too much on crazy detail or perfection for that matter, just kind of going with the flow, relaxing into the watercolor, getting used to the strokes, and just enjoying the color mixes. So we're going to start off, if you watched any of my other floral videos, we always kind of start off with doing the main florals. So I'm going to be starting off by doing the main floral. We're starting the center, and for the center, I'm just going to do a very jaggedy kind of dabbing motion, linear lines, and some dots as well happening in the center, and I'm leaving a lot of white space. And it's just a ring of this happening. You don't want too much, and I think that's good enough. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my number 1 mop brush, which I love, and I'm taking off most of the water because it can hold a lot of water. And then I'm going to get in some of my pink that we have, or the carmine, and I am going to do little arc shapes around this that we've done. And then just dipping the tip in water. I'm doing another shape here. I'm kind of touching that center as well, as you can see, but leaving a lot of white space. Now dipping the tip in water again, I'm going to do another one right here. I touched a little bit of that, and I'm just going to go around doing a couple of loose strokes and touching, but leaving a lot of white space as well. So as you can see me doing here, very loosely. And now we're going to go back into this number 4, and I am going to get a little bit of that purple, and let's just add in some of that purple and a couple of edges that are still damp to this floral that we've just painted. And the point of doing this is so that it can blend in properly once we are finished. Now I'm getting some of the pink. I'm going to add a little bit more of the pink to certain areas. So I added a little bit of the purple, and I'm adding some of the pink, and this is just to highlight certain areas. That's it. After we've done this, now I'm going to use the same brush that we have with the purple. I'm going to get a little bit more of it, and we're going to add a couple of like little, what would you call it? Little florals. And we're just doing this motion this way. And as you can see, it's like an arc shape, and I just kind of went jaggedy this way with my brush. So the same motion we did for the center of this floral, but on a larger scale with this mop brush. Then I'm going to go in with my number 4 again, and I'm just going to get some of this color that we have here, the yellow ochre, and I'm just going to add it to the center because this is like a floral that's peeking out from the back there. And then just dipping the tip in water, I'm just going to actually fill this edge here with that yellow. And then I washed off some of the yellow. I'm going to go back in for that purpley blue color that we have happening, and I'm adding it to the rest of it. Close that space up. And now once this is done, we're going to do a couple more of these. So now I'm going to take some of that blue instead, and then we're just going to add some happening over here. Remember your white space. So now I just took in some water and just on the tip of the brush. So if there's too much water, just kind of dab it off. But you want to push all the color to the center of your florals. I'm going to take some of that purple and just add it to the center so it gives me that nice flare up. Then we're going to go in with this number 4, get some of the yellow ochre, and I'm just going to add or dab to the center of this, just like that. Now that we have our 2 florals, we're just going to go ahead and do a third one, and let's just do the third one here. And so same thing, by now you've gotten used to the pressing down and just kind of leaving some white space, getting some water so that you have like a nice dark to light version of the floral on this end, and pushing all the color to the center. And this flower is also peeking from, or half of it is like the back of this one right here. And then we're just adding that to the center of that flower and we're good to go. Now we can kind of go in and get some of the leaves and stuff happening. And so for that, I am going to, actually before we do the leaves and whatnot, let's do one more of this flower. So this one, let's make it more of that pinky. Before we kind of go, I think one more flower can fit here. So I'm just going to start off by using my number 1. I'll get a little bit directly on the tip of my brush because I want it to be nice and dark. And I'm going to add these little strokes. And then dipping the tip in water to kind of get a looser, lighter hue. And then really spreading out where my strokes are going. And then just leaving it at that. And now I can just take some of the yellow ochre that I already have, and I'm just going to add it right there. And there we go. We've got like another light floral that's right there. And then we can just take some of the blue and our little Prussian blue that we have happening with that purple. And I'm just going to start creating some leaves that are going to be right here. So just a line and a stroke down. Then I'm dipping the tip in water, getting some of that purple. I'm going to add another one right there while this is still damp. And pulling all the color down to the center. I'm going to get some more of that and then just add some green to it this time. And we'll get some happening on this end here. And do you see how the green just mixed in roughly with that gives you that nice, almost like a turquoise look color. So feel free to kind of go in with any one of the other colors that you've mixed to kind of give it that nice, interesting difference or contrast. And you can even, what we should also be doing is mixing some of the carmine with the purple to get like a nice hue of a purple that's like in between. So I'm just going to wash this off quickly. Get some of that, oops, wrong color. Get some of the carmine. Mix it in here. There we go. See, now we have that other shade of purple. And let's get some leaves happening over here on this end. Now give it some movement and flair. So I'm just gonna have one happening that way, and then I could have continued using my number 4. I think that would have worked well with it. And just like I've done my leaves in several of my videos, and if you haven't checked them out, you should definitely check those videos out. I have a beginner series where I talk about how to do leaves. So if those are not your thing and you're kind of just getting into it, definitely check that out. But yes, they're just a couple of strokes, and we're kind of mixing two-tone colors to kind of get this nice 2D effect as opposed to just getting one. So you see how I got a little bit of that purple there, a little bit of that blue at the end. That's what we want. Love it. That is the kind of stuff that really makes a painting pretty, especially when it's like abstract this way. So I'm getting some more of that blue, and let's kind of mix some up happening over here. Maybe even make it like little, as you can see, berries. So I'm just getting my number 4, and I'm just going to create the same berry kind of shape next to it and around here. And I want it to kind of fade into, so it looks like very rough and loose detail. And then you can always go back in and just add like a couple of dots here and there to kind of really give you that nice light and dark happening in these areas. And that's perfection. Like that's literally all you would need when you're doing things like that. So I'm going to get some of that purple now and add some of that on this end. And let's add like slightly bigger leaves on this end, more like rounder looking leaves. Perfect. So now we have a difference in shape as well. And we can add a couple of hues happening over on this side. And we're going to darken the stem. There we go. I'm going to add some darkening of the stem over here as well. Perfect. And so we have like this very loose setting or setup of these florals. And I'm just mixing to get a little more of that purpley color. And I'm going to get some purple berry looking things on this end. Just the same method that we used up there. So we're using, if you haven't grasped this concept already, we're using a lot of different shapes here. So we're using circles, we're using very linear type of leaves, thicker leaves over here, and we're trying to create some interesting looks by mixing two-tone colors based on the four colors that we mixed, and just trying to get the shapes to act as interesting texture as well. And it works really, really well, especially when you're kind of just, you just want to paint for fun. You're not painting to perfect anything, which is how painting should be anyways, in my opinion. Now I'm kind of using whatever colors left on my palette, and I'm just mixing them up to add these additional berry type of elements to my painting. And you can see how pretty this is turning out. Now some of the other things that we could do to enhance this, because right now it's looking just like very flat almost, is we're just going to go in with slightly darker hues of what we have here. So we had the carmine, so I'm just going to mix a little bit more on here. And using the number 8, we're just going to add a couple of strokes to kind of enhance what we did. Again, very loose strokes, nothing crazy. Get a little bit more of that on here. And it acts as nice shadow almost for these florals. So I'm just getting the tip of my brush wet, and this is mainly because I want this color to kind of almost kind of blend in and not have such hard edges. And I'm just kind of using my own discretion and kind of doing it wherever I feel it will work. So now that that's done, we're gonna get in some of that nice blue, and I just got it directly from the palette, and I'm just gonna add, I need more blue. I'm just gonna add a couple of strokes in that very haphazard, pointed kind of manner. And then with the blue on my brush, I'm going to get some of the purple, and I'm going to add that to the next one. And so you can see my whole idea here is to just mix and match the colors so that at the end of everything, it looks like one cohesive unit, chaotic, but cohesive in color. And the technique is just kind of very loose and going at it just for fun. So I'm hoping this makes sense to you guys. Adding a little more of the blue here. And then what we're going to do is take the number 4, and I'm going to get some of the blue, and I'm mixing it with the green that we have. Onto the side here. So we got this nice rich color happening. And so I'm just going to add details over here. So I'm overlapping at this point. And we're just kind of adding darker details to this painting. Adding a little bit more blue. And just loosely adding these colors in areas around here so it kind of ties in nicely at the end. So we've got these areas. I'm just going to add some over here. Perfect. And then so you can see there are very, very loose looking leaves. And let's do some with more of that blue here happening. So you can see some of like the nice dark colors that I have are technically from just dipping my brush directly into my little palette there and then going on here and doing it. Now with the leftover color on my brush, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight some of the leaves that we already have on here. So I'm just gonna do this. And this way we have some of that purple, but we have some of the green from the darker leaves in our leaves as well. And the reason we can do this is because this is a very abstract style and we are doing our own thing. So you can see how enhancing that and adding the center just like really brings it, steps it up a notch and just makes it super, not super detailed, although that's what I was going to say, but just adds a little bit more detail while still being extremely loose in our style of painting. There we go. So this is what we ended up with, guys. I hope you found this video instructional and helpful in terms of just loosening up and kind of using a limited amount of colors to kind of create something pretty but also chaotic at the same time. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to comment in the comments below, or you can reach me directly on Instagram or Facebook. My Instagram handle is Hello Clarice G. And once again, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Feel free to hit the like button and also share these videos with people that you might think would find this handy for them. It helps my channel grow and I really, really, really appreciate it. So thanks so much, guys, for joining in, and I will see you on Sunday where we will continue with our abstract florals and just learning how to loosen up and create loose, pretty paintings. Have a great Thursday, guys. Bye.